Good afternoon. Normally I'm a stand-up comedian, so it's really weird for me in like poetry circles that everyone's just like very quiet. Yeah, good job. It doesn't work like that. My name is Jackie Hofford. I work for Massy as the events coordinator, and I'm happy to be here today with you. Thank you so much for leaving your homes and participating in the arts. We love that for all of us. Yay! Yay, the arts! As everyone has noticed, there is a washroom just to the right here. Obviously, it's very awkward to use it while people are doing their readings, but we don't care. It's fine. Live your life. Use the washroom. It's cool. Also, we probably will keep the rear door open the whole time, which can be loud and disruptive, but also air is good. So just a note about that. And now I'll just transition into a land acknowledgement awkwardly. We are, of course, on the unceded territories belonging to the Coast Salish peoples, belonging to the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh. And I'm a white settler of fourth generation, which is like, you gotta ask yourself, what were my ancestors doing? And I'm responsible for that. That's part of my life and my heritage. My ancestors are, so I'm gonna just list off. I come from the Hoffarts, the Grosses, the Bachmans, and the Yankees on my father's side, and the, no, I have to look. It's my own family. It's a shame. It's like my great-grandparents. The Peters, the Dukes, the Sullivans, and the Krakows on my mother's side. So it's mixed German and Irish ancestry with some Mennonites in there, which is like a religion, not an ethnicity, but also there's some overlap there. And obviously land acknowledgements from white settlers are very awkward and performative feeling, and I have no sort of quick bomb for that other than to do what I've learned and been taught by Indigenous women, which is to build relationships and to do actions that speak to my commitment to obviously land back and decolonization and more broadly. So there's just one little organization that I'm a part of contributing to that I want to draw people's attention to, and it's called patreon.com/payyourrent. And it's Patty Krawick is the kind of creator of this redistribution scheme that they use through Patreon. So it's basically like set up so that settlers can just make a monthly payment, and the foundation that they've created called Nikanagana, which is the Anishinaabe word for we are all related, or I am your relation and you are mine, or that's sort of roughly the translation. They redistribute the money at low barrier to folks all across the country. That's a nice thing that you can do if you want to do financial reparations. And otherwise, we are grateful for you for supporting Massy Arts, which is an Indigenous women-run community hub that focuses on Indigenous storytelling and amplifying over-excluded voices. As well, we encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. It's a little bit sort of social media push, marketing moment, but our newsletter is, it's the same newsletter as the Massy Books newsletter, so if you just go to Massy Books' site and sign up, you'll get information about what we're doing, and Instagram is obviously kind of like where we do the most promotion, so you can follow us there, Massy Arts Society. But otherwise, we're really grateful that you're here, and I'm going to introduce your readers for today. How does that sound? All right, starting off, we've got Selina, is it Boan? Boan, yeah. Is a white settler, Nehia Cree writer living on traditional, unceded territories of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish peoples. Her debut poetry collection, Undoing Hours, available for sale at the back, was published in spring 2021 by Nightwood Editions, which won the 2022 Pat Lowther, exposing myself for not being like deep in the scene. Okay. Pat Lowther Memorial Award and Indigenous Voices Award for published poetry in English. Her work has been widely published, including the Best Canadian Poetry 2018 and 2020. She is a poetry editor for CV2. Please welcome Selina Boan.
Thank you so much. I also really appreciated your land acknowledgement. I think it's so wonderful to see folks sort of positioning themselves and placing themselves in the space where we are. So Tanse, hi everybody. My name is Selina. Most folks I know here, and so it's really lovely to be in this space with you all. I really want to thank Chris for making this happen. It was a kind of grief, I think, when my book came out. And we did our best, Molly, myself, and Dallas, to kind of go on tour online, but it's never the same, despite our best efforts. And so it's really lovely just getting to be in a space and sort of looking at folks and having a little moment to sort of celebrate having a book in the world, because I truly don't really feel like I got to do that. So this feels like a really beautiful way to kind of, I don't know, not kick off summer, because we're already in the middle of summer, but it just feels like a good sort of full circle moment, especially because 4 days ago, I think it was 4 days ago, I started to write again finally. I had taken probably like a 2-year hiatus from writing. I went back to school to become a high school teacher, and my life has been revolving around my students and nurturing that kind of thing in my life. So terrifying. Let me just tell you. And I am not producing things that I'm particularly proud of, but it feels so, so good to actually be writing again, and to just like play with language. So this feels like a real full circle moment for me, which I love and appreciate. I forgot my glasses today, so I'm gonna try to read without them, but I may have to put on my sunglasses, and we'll have a little sunglass moment. Molly and I were up front picking poems for each other to read from our books. That's all to say also, because I haven't been writing, I don't have any new poems to read, sadly. But we will get to explore my beautiful collection, which if you haven't bought, you should buy. I tend to be off social media, so my self-promotion is not always the best, but here I am. Okay, this one is about a time me and my roommates had to kill a rat. We had a rat infestation in our apartment, and it was mildly horrifying. Morning in our apartment, a small wet funeral. I drown a rat in the kitchen sink, tie back my hair and whisper, sorry. Cassie on the plastic stool repeats the rat's good life, hands on her knees like we share the same body, hands that pinch and squirm. Cassie on the plastic stool is a lemon wedge, soured and nervous. She repeats the rat's good life. I tell her when I was a girl, I was given the tail of a baby squirrel by my dad. First animal he ever shot, placed in a blue box under my bed. For years, I slept over his story of a BB gun, a branch, and his own dad barking to shoot. For years, my roommates and I have been trying to catch the rat party that surrounds our lives. The after sound of heartbreaks and boiling water through the drain of the tub. You can hear their teeth at night. A loud shadow we brush our mouths to. We spit and bleed and polish. Cassie and I eat breakfast standing up, try to bleach the death out of our walls, the brass vents. We chew cereal and our disbelief, like mussels on a plate. The rat is an exhausted blade, a kneecap dislocating from soft tissue. This morning, a soft, reflective road disappearing behind us. I want to carry the rat all day in the yellow, no-frills funeral shopping bag. I want to take her to the grocery store and to the library to pick up a book, suddenly certain she can read, the weight of her body swinging so close to mine. So truly, it was kind of horrifying because I was in this sink and we caught this rat, and it was my turn to get rid of the rat, and we've been having trouble catching them in conventional ways, And so it got caught on one that I know they're so inhumane, but the sticky traps, because it was the only thing that was working to get these rats and mice infestation out. And to be honest, like, I'm actually okay with a few mice. Like, they don't really bother me. Occasionally I'll see one skitter and I'm like, it's fine. But it was truly becoming a problem. Like, they were like pooping in our bed. Like, it was like next level. So anyway, this poor rat, got stuck on the sticky tape, and so she was still alive. And so I had to, my one roommate stomped on one, which was horrifying. We didn't want to and then my one roommate just threw it out to not leave it suffer. So this was the decision that I made. I don't know. Anyway, but it made a great poem. No, I'm just, oh dear. That's always something sometimes I think as artists we're plagued with, where something sort of terrible or tragic or weird happens, and we're like, could be an interesting poem. Okay, I'm looking for the next poem that Molly, okay. Molly had me read this one. I never read this one aloud. For those who know me, I have a drunk alter ego. Her name is Selina. She is a tough bitch, I will tell you that. She will fight people in bars if you mess with her friends. She does not take, she's feisty. And so this poem is about her, essentially. It's called Alter Ego, after Melissa McClure. Oh my gosh, sorry, say again, Monica. Whoopsie. Thank you, sorry, Monica. Okay. Selina doesn't care if you like her. In the kitchen, shoulder to shoulder, she is a zipper, teeth pulled open to peer inside, the party's tongue quipping with you in the hallway. Selina scrubs her teeth in the bathroom with someone else's toothbrush. Have done that, can report. Spits orange Dorito dust into a sunset, and an earwig softening under her shoe. Selina, you know what I'm gonna do? I feel like it's appropriate also for this poem. Okay, now I can see. Okay, Selina is the right kind of mean, pressing memory's button. She'll tease you till you like her. She'll make fun of your band tee, start a fight if you fuck with her friends, isn't always just kind mean. Selina is hot glue pressing herself to the party's scene, is inside a sex dream about Maggie Gyllenhaal, is sliding marshmallows onto her fingers, is hot fries. Selina watches Molly blow pubic hair off the toilet like dandelion seeds. She pees a toilet bowl monologue, marinates her lungs in smoke, watches bathroom tiles turn teal like a music video, swallowing a crowd of scratchy towels. Selina is relaxed sway, holding her own hand. She is you too, but not. Is forgetting, is so much more well-liked, is ignition coils, is sporadic texts, is coming. So there's my party alter ego vibe. But also, again, all these things are things that I've definitely done. The sliding the marshmallows onto my fingers, have done that in an attempt to seduce somebody who's now my partner of 4 years, so can't report, it does work. But horrifying in retrospect. Okay. I'm gonna try reading another poem that I don't often read a lot. I'm gonna keep glasses on just because it is helping me read to see. It's called Suck It Up, with a little heart at the end. I don't often read it because it is a little bit more challenging to read out loud, but I'm gonna try. Nausea is a quarry, the bottom of a lake pulled for gravel. Pebbles of time loosened and poured into a body of roads. I dreamt a daughter stunning with scales. I dreamt Wapana swask, healing toothaches, burn, fever. On the bedside table, gravel, that pink pill, a miracle in suppository form. Another way into ourselves. Little suppository joke in there. Okay. When I can't sleep, I meditate on my own lungs, bleed myself into other women, a jar of water kept beside the bed for blackouts or thirst. My mood is full of holes like burnt clay, the moon. Last night I went looking for some place to hide the river. Selfish girl, trying to hold what can't be held, making everything romantic. On the dance floor, hair swings, sharp and elastic, as the truths we tell ourselves to make heartbreak hurt less. Via email, Notawe always signs off, blessings. Bless this ever-changing Tuesday, this city I am learning to unname. Inside the bar, I crowd myself clean again. Body, a feedback loop, a gif of spinning neon hearts, a cell no bigger than an apple seed. Capable of remaking an animal, each piece of self a brand new self. The ceiling keeps screaming at me. Who knew we would be so mortified by how ordinary our lives are? In a food court stuffed with babies and angry warm mouths, we visit our names. Daughter, Notawe. I should say Notawe is my father in Nightwood Creek. Surrounded by a ceiling of red lights. Mannequins wearing fur-collared t-shirts, offensive tinsel. We buy family presents, are not offered gift wrap. We look at our phones, click, scroll, light. We live and our decisions turn into a story. Kenita metamek. Sometimes we pay for the things we know. Soap in the mouth. Back at the bar, Jess sits elbows on the table, tilting a glass of water back and forth. She reminds me, love is when you laugh at yourself and mean it. Take what you're given and give it. I was swept back and forth over a road in December, badly timed road trip in snow. If Notawe can hear me in this poem, I would whisper, I just wanted to be near you. I just wanted to undo this grief on our hands, melt the ice in the bucket by the door. Kayam, let it go, for your own self. Emoji shrugs remind me doubt can live in the body like a town shaking itself to sleep. And I've learned when you buy a knife at the mall, you get one sharpening for free. Okay, one more. Woo! The one you chose, I think, did you pick Run the Herd?
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did. And we'll end there. Thank you all. So, this is so wonderful. I feel like I don't often get to read my poems aloud these days, and it's just really nice to get to share. So, I appreciate you all. Okay, Run the Herd. Run the hurt through water, through grass, along the river where reeds brush, blood, skin, pus, where pain lets itself out little by little. There are words you don't want to write. A shape of history denied so many times, violence forms a country. If you are hurting, if you are uncertain, know that this body can hold itself to itself and undo at the same time. It is your grandmother lying in bed underneath a wool blanket, an article she cut from the newspaper waiting for you beside the sink. It is Kukum saying Hisakitan with her hands, stitching beads to a leather purse you will one day hold. It is your questions to her on love, sovereignty, just washed hair, learning in the Hewewin that verbs are at the center, how we move through this world, a heart, blue, red, yellow flowers circling each other, is to feel, shake, kiss, to love so fiercely it is a sky. Thanks, folks.
So much. All right, your next reader is Molly Cross-Blanchard. She is a white and Métis writer and editor born on Treaty 3 territory in Fort Frances, Ontario, raised in Treaty 6 territory, Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, and living on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples here in Vancouver. She published her debut collection of poems, Exhibitionist, in 2021 with Coach House Books, available for sale at the back, and currently teaches creative writing at Quantum Polytechnic University. Everybody welcome Molly.
Thank you, Jackie. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. Huge props to Chris for making this happen. Selina stole my line about, the pandemic book launch experience being like a grief. but clearly, there's something to that if we both kind of had that same thought. I think probably Shaun had it the worst of us being in 2020 because there was so much, is it gonna happen? Is it not gonna happen? And then we get to like spring 2021 and we've kind of just like thrown our hands up in defeat. And that's not to discount like all of the really fantastic efforts that were made online and how, helpful it is that this online infrastructure for hosting hybrid events has grown so much, because I think there's so much good that came out of that. But there's this idea you have of launching your first book, and our experience really fell short of that. So I appreciate this opportunity to once again don my dress that I wore for my online book launch and have this feel a little bit like a full circle moment. So I'll read from Exhibitionist. I've been reading from this book for 2 years, and I still don't really know how to tell people what it's about. It really just feels like a timestamp of my life from like age 21 to 26. So I think rather than continuing to try to tell people what it's about, I'm just going to say that. It's just a little chunk of my life and all the messiness. So we'll start with one of Selina's choices. This is called How Do You Suffer? And I wrote it in the winter while I was living on UBC campus and all of my friends were in East Van. How do you suffer? On a snowless hill, 50 meters above the Pacific, in $80 rain pants and a North Face jacket, with a Fjallraven full of childhood trauma under cover of the bus shelter, walking backwards through Thunderbird fields at midnight, pretending it's the prairie, spotlight full blast, pretending it's the sun. At Cabro Salon, for the sake of touch and the pressure of that black porcelain sink on your spine. Lost in the forest of Netflix suggestions, starring Kristen Bell or some other white lady. Sleeping, but not dreaming of anything worth crying about. Always gasping awake to some sharp sound. With permission from the new peer group. Through a pucker-mouthed smirk and wool. In a cupboard full to the top with plastic grocery bags inside plastic grocery bags inside plastic grocery bags. Far too carefully? Or with reckless abandon and kisses blown east out the bedroom window. For any of you in this room who have ever been on birth control and subsequently tried to get off of birth control, this poem is for you. You think you know your life after Harold Lindsay Bird and birth control. You think you know your life, and then you're sitting alone in the theater with popcorn grease on your chin, watching Melissa McCarthy bumbly stumble from flattering floral blouse into flattering floral blouse 50 times in 90 minutes. Alone is what you want to be, but not feel. You think you know your life, and then you're crying because on the way to your car, you see the stars for the first time since September, and they are nothing like you remember. All your naps begin or end with porn. You could fill a diva cup with pus from the zits on your cheeks and chest. You want to fill a diva cup with blood, but your pussy's like pulled up. You think you know your life, and then you piss away 5 hours a day, half watching House Hunters reruns on basic cable and chewing polish off your nails so you can paint them again the same shade of crepe paper pink. Your life is wiping the kitchen counter and signing the chore sheet and making toast and wiping the counter and signing the chore sheet and making toast. Your life is Grey's Anatomy, when George falls heroically in front of a bus and ends up in the ER with his surgeon friends, but they don't know it's him because his face is so fucked up and swollen that they treat him like anyone else and talk shit about him while he's lying on the table, open and hurt with a tube down his throat. You think you know your life. But then you wean yourself off 21-day Marvelon, and it turns out you haven't known your life since your mom found a picture of your labia on your Nokia camera phone and sent you to the clinic for a script. You think you know your life, but it turns out those tiny white pills were tiny white liars, pressing buttons, pulling levers, saying, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. This is one I never read. It's a shorty, and it's true, unfortunately. Junior Chicken. He feeds me a bite, starfished on his mattress on the floor. Our ankles touch like Lincoln logs. Did I make you come? He asks, a glob of McChicken sauce on his chin. It's just mayo, I say. Send my hand like a scope into the sheets. It comes back miraculously with my underwear. They want you to think it's special, but it's not. This is one of the 2 long poems in the book. This is a poem I fashioned. This is a poem I fashioned from a journal entry. Sorry. I was hysterical one night. The moon was being weird. I sent you nudes that made my ass look rounder than it is and wrote, I think we should have sex when I'm in town. I put a deposit down on a hand tattoo that Kyle says will make me look like I've been to prison. I ate half a vegan bean wrap and a piece of cheese toast and 2 cups of sweet beige coffee, and that's it. I took a pissing selfie and posted it in the Ladies Fitness Accountability Chat, #multitasking. No one liked it. Is this what feeling my whole life is like? Is what I wrote in the journal. I've been watching Fleabag, that was the problem. Phoebe Waller-Bridge and the moon. I reminded myself that my mother and my best friend are alive. I reminded myself I have a dog, not a guinea pig. She licked my hand over and over, and I had to lie still for a while. I read some Sally Rooney, and just like that, the banana peel drying on the desk became endearing. I was endeared to myself, but now I can't remember how. Recalling drunkenness, sober. I need you to love me more than I need to remember liking myself, and I'm only a little embarrassed to admit it. I hope you like my body when we fuck. I hope you say my asshole tastes like caramel again. And I hope my asshole actually tastes like caramel, and you weren't just saying it to make me feel better about having a regular tasting asshole. If you haven't missed my breasts, you will after you see them in these new sheer cups. You'll miss them while they're still in your hands. All of it happened so fast. I just wanted to feel loved again by a man who loves me, to be held so normal while it's dark outside. And I wanted to smell you. This is the present tense. I want to lick your warm neck and smell that magic thing my spit does on your skin. Love really looks like this, huh? This is the transition. I'm climbing a hill or else descending quickly into a tumble. If I'm a baby's light-up toy, you're the blinking default setting. I have to be loving someone else to not be loving you. What we thought was a pressed red self-destruct button is actually hundreds of windows to be nailed shut by hand. Do you understand? This coming together is part of the leaving. Sorry. Just fuck me like you did at Disney World. I swear I'll be right there with you. And this is the last poem I'm going to read, and it's also the last poem in the book, and also the last poem I wrote before the book went to print. They will call this vulnerable. They will call this vulnerable because it's a book written by a woman, and it checks the woman's book vibes. Heartbreak, check. Ghost children, check. Yearning, checkarooning, baby. When they call this a vulnerable exploration of womanhood, will they cite the ass stuff? Or say, she was hurt so good? Is it vulnerable to write, I love my massive rack? Or is it just a fact? I want to tell you everything. Like how I fantasize about lifting a car off all four sisters, pulling dad from a burning barn, jumping off a bridge to save a Jack Russell Terrier. But then I'd have to divorce myself from myself. Vulnerability is tricky like that. Fake it till you make it, Mom always says. And here's the book. Susan asked, can the last poem be just about you? And it's a trick question, because it's always been about me. When I'm staring into your face and it's like you're the only man I've ever loved, I'm really thinking about the next time I'll feel so alive. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right. Your next poet is Shaun Robinson. Shaun Robinson's first book, If You Discover a Fire, was published by Brick Books in 2020 and is available for sale at the back of the room. His poems have appeared in The Walrus, The Malahat Review, Arc Poetry, and the Best Canadian Poetry 2019. He lives in Vancouver and is a citizen of the Métis Nation of British Columbia. Welcome, Shaun.
Thank you. Okay, this one I never read. It's the only quote-unquote love poem in the book. It's called Where Do You Bury the Survivors? Sometimes I think you're a fox and I'm trying to row you across a river. You're also, for some reason, a chicken and a bag of corn. And I only have room in my boat for one thing at a time. The river is this conversation, or the river is the rest of our lives. Or the river is just a border between one solid place and another where we want to stand together. Not that I think you're really a fox or a chicken or a measure of dead weight. I mean that I'm afraid if I leave you alone, the parts of you that seem at odds will start consuming one another. And now I think of another grade school riddle. A plane crashes on a border, and where do you bury the survivors? Back then we'd say you don't bury survivors, but that's not right, is it? Sometimes you do. Okay. This one is the first poem I ever wrote in this book. I don't know where it is. It's called New Year's Day. I tried to move to Montreal when I was 30 years old and it didn't work out. I wake up in a friend's mile-end apartment. Noon, and even the leaves have gone home for Christmas. The only food I can find is in jars, crunchy peanut butter and purple sauerkraut. I rustle through a paper sack of bagels, stale souvenir zeros. There's a bruise on my thigh the shape of Haida Gwaii. I could probe its depths if I wanted, chart the X of what hurts against the Y of how much. Use the data to reconstruct the sidewalk that did the damage, calculate speed and direction, fill in some empty spaces. Instead, I follow a craving for bitter coffee down St. Laurent, limping around unfenced construction sites and party debris. Red plastic beer cups are symbols that need no translation. I snap cell phone photos of alleyway signs and low-rise windows. 2 weeks in Quebec and still crashing on couches, still lost whenever I surface from a metro station. My inner compass useless without a mountain horizon. By the time I find coffee, my body is making new demands for ibuprofen and food court Thai. I have no choice, I obey. Why not? It was impulse that brought me here, farther from home than I've ever been. Later tonight, I'll ride the metro for hours, from Beaubien to Cloquet to from Snowdon to Jean Talon, rattling under the dense weave of city. Streets and habits, names and wires, laid down in a grid of meaning. When I finally arrive at Peel, 2 blocks from my destination, a busker in the station will be playing Hallelujah. And as usual, thank God, I'll be getting it all wrong. Okay. This one is called Convenience. These are kind of my walking around the city poems. Every day I pass 2 women who stand, hands folded, beside a rack of pamphlets that read while suffering end. They face the all-night gym. Ellipticals and treadmills lined up like catapults in the window. They say it's madness repeating the same action, expecting different results, yet the bodybuilders grow stronger and stronger, and the women marshal an army of souls with which to storm the afterlife. So if at 2 a.m. every Saturday, I find myself at the Max on the corner, deciding which exotic salt I want to lick from my fingers, don't assume it's a failure of will. I go to be soothed by the timeless casino light of the aisles, the drifting sensation of easy rock, like the store has come unmoored from the city. A glass submarine moving under the surface of night, bearing its payload of soft drinks and frozen burritos toward sunrise, and in your territory. The cooler's humming like 2 beers into an evening. The Keno board flashing news of distant loss. When I pass the gym with my hand jammed in a bag of Doritos, I know I am kin to the man stretching himself on a rack, his face twisted with regret, the cords of it in his neck as red and thick as Twizzlers. It's given to both of us to do the work that's done at night, tending the flame of suffering, passing it like a torch from one day to the next. Okay, here's my one poem I managed to write about work. It's called The Future Lives Here. I spent the summer co-piloting a pickup through Surrey, trying to interpret a binder of ancient Parks Board maps. Impossible in a city whose motto was "The future lives here." Where the map showed a cornfield, we found a full-grown subdivision. 4-story townhouses repeating like wallpaper. Same swing set and top of big wheel in every yard. It didn't help that Garrett, my boss, popped ephedrine to stay awake and only knew east from west by tapping out never eat shredded wheat on the wheel. From 7 to 4, we hopped from park to park to loop rubber mats around the trunks of city trees. The mats smelled like the inside of galoshes and had to do with mowers or moisture retention or something. I didn't mind the work, but Garrett never shut up except to dribble chew into a big belt cup between his knees, rambling in a sports bar grammar of hockey fights and hangovers. At 29, he had 2 kids by different women. The longest he'd ever been faithful was to an annual pass at the gym. I couldn't believe I'd moved to the city to be trapped in a trunk with this Prince George hick, a dead ringer for every man I'd known in 17 small town years. So why did I meet him every Friday at a downtown pub to sip from $7 pitchers and listen to his lecture on real estate or his Keno system while he cited down his cue at a gridlock of stripes and solids? Something always went wrong, an 8 that refused to go down or light up, but he swore one day he'd run the table and haul his winnings to Costa Rica. I couldn't stand to hear him talk about the future as if it existed, but it was better than my tiny apartment, twilight guttering in the slice of sky you could see from my only window, framed by towers that threatened to extinguish everything. If only I could have spent my nights in the calm of the moment after we'd set the final mat of the day. The sod cut away and replaced with a black circle, the grass and soil swept off, 3 staples to hold it in place. The moment it all fit together as if I'd never been there. Thank you.
our final reader tonight is Christopher Evans. Chris is a writer and editor originally from the lands of the Lekwungen people on the traditional territories of the Sanghees and Esquimalt nations in Victoria, BC. Chris is a former editor of Prism International magazine and currently teaches creative writing to children. His work has appeared in numerous magazines and anthologies, including Maisonneuve, Event, The Best Canadian Poetry, and has been shortlisted for the Commonwealth Short Story Prize. His debut short story collection, Nothing Could Be Further from the Truth, was published by House of Anansi in 2022 and is available for sale at the back. Everybody give a warm welcome to Christopher Evans.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much to Jackie, and thank you to Massy for this space and for creating room for people to express themselves. Quick plug for Massy. I think it's still doing collecting books for the book sale, which is going to be in August. It's always a really good sale. They're taking books, I think, until the 31st. So take any books that you think they can use there. I just took like 3 boxes yesterday and it was very freeing. None of your books. It's a good opportunity. And they can use it, and all that money, I think, is used to support this space, which in turn supports people like us. So please think about doing that. And again, it's really nice to be able to read in front of people. I've only read once publicly in 3 years, and there was a time when I was the only reader, and it felt a little self-indulgent, and I felt like I was filibustering the whole time. So it's nice to be able to read with Shaun and Selina and Molly, who are 3 of my favorite writers and 2 of my favorite people. So I haven't been writing much. Selina was talking about going back to writing, and I feel like I haven't really been able to do that. I feel like I'm sort of edging in that direction now. And I think one of the things that might sort of help push me in that direction is using form again, because that's one thing when I'm first writing that I really enjoy, using sort of non-traditional forms for writing fiction. And so in the original draft of this book, I had lots of different like listy stories and interview stories and things like that. I ended up cutting most of them because they were sometimes a bit distracting when you put them all together. But I kept one. I'm going to read that today. So in the form of a profile. This is from my dad, who passed away last week, because I think a lot of his humor is imbued in this, and he liked this one, or at least understood it. So here it's called, and hopefully it's not too long. I did time myself. It was like 7 minutes, which feels like not too indulgent. So if you start rolling your eyes, I'll read faster. This is called The Passion and the Fugue of Edward Frank, a profile by Jane. Edward Reedy Frank is a challenging man to track down. He is nothing short of elusive in describing the location of his new apartment. And while the door buzzer identifies his unit as occupied, the space is hardly that. It's as Spartan and deliberate as the plates he delivers as sous chef for Yaletown Bistro, Wheaton of Wheat. Sparsely aside, there is something disjointed about the apartment. Though the front hall is neatly lined with recently emptied moving boxes, many of the apartment's items were freshly purchased. The burgundy towels hanging perfectly on the bathroom rod, the gleaming stainless steel toaster on the kitchen countertop, and the open box of condoms buried in his underwear drawer. The result is a dizzying combination of foreign and familiar. When asked why he was so quick to replace his old reliable toaster with this new sleek model, Frank replies, "Jane, what the hell are you doing here? How did you even, Jesus Christ, is that broken glass? Did you climb the fire escape?" The fieriness of these queries succinctly captures both Frank's questioning nature and the depth of his passion. It's these traits that have allowed him to climb the many rungs of Vancouver's culinary ladder in a relatively short time. After fruitlessly toiling in retail or fast food jobs for nearly a decade, Frank returned to school in the late 2000s, attending the city's prestigious International Cooking Institute. After stages at Spanish eatery Viva and much-lauded local landmark Cucina Genoa, Frank returned to the Wheaton of Wheat team as line cook in 2011. He fervently believes and continuously asking himself what he can do to advance his cooking. It is this intensity and drive that gained him the title of sous in his first 9 months, a position he's held ever since. The restaurant management speak highly of Frank and consider him an integral part of the team, with front of house manager Timothy Lee stating, "Like I told you before, miss, this area is for staff only. If I see you here again, I'm calling the police." With such words, one gets the feeling that Frank's star has only begun to rise. As talented as he is, though, Frank quickly acknowledges that he couldn't have done it alone. I worked under some great chefs at the Institute, and my parents have been very supportive. With some urging, he continues, "Yes, there were other people in my life at that time who were supportive too, I guess." Is that what you wanted to hear, Jane? Despite the parental encouragement he claims to have received, life on the home front was not always so easy for Frank. His father's career as a tile salesman meant that his family was always on the move, living in almost 4 different houses across the lower mainland in his first 18 years alone. This near constant movement created in Frank a feeling of rootlessness, making it difficult for him to maintain serious relationships for much longer than a year and 3 months. Of his childhood, Frank says, "I had food and shelter and loving, active parents. It was great, a really stable environment. Not that you would know anything about that, Jane." What wasn't so great was his parents' divorce in 2003, a situation which left Frank emotionally wounded and deeply commitment-phobic. While his father, John, refused to comment, Frank's mother, Marilyn, agreed to a telephone interview after several requests. A stern, disapproving woman, perpetually locked in a state of silent judgment, Marilyn says, "Edward was just the sweetest boy, as you know, very intelligent and sensitive to the needs of others. When his father and I divorced, Edward was terrific about the whole thing. I've never held any ill will towards my ex-husband, and all 3 of us still get together for dinner regularly. My son understood that for a relationship to really work, it has to be equally satisfying for both partners, and that if one person's unhappy, then both are unhappy." Before hanging up the phone and returning to her life of never really giving people a chance, Marilyn adds, "Do you get what I'm saying here, Jane? Sometimes things just run their course. I hope you can grow to accept that and soon. I mean, it was nice to get to know you for a bit and everything, but please don't call here again." Frank is reticent to discuss the specifics on the relationship his mother alludes to, but on good authority, it was an intense connection with a dynamic young woman, a coupling notable for its voracious desire and deep mutual respect, which came to an unceremonious halt 2 months ago when Frank announced that he needed a break, whatever the fuck that means. Though Frank's closest friends appear confident that he will be able to survive this temporary parting, they too find his choice to suddenly move out on a Tuesday afternoon while his dedicated girlfriend was taking a scrapbooking class at Michael's inexplicable. When asked repeatedly what caused this rift, longtime friend Mike Grisham seems mystified and finally asks, "Gee, I wonder." One likely reason behind the trial separation lies in Frank's immersion in Vancouver's restaurant and nightlife culture. Like many young chefs, he has dabbled in the drugs and alcohol that fuel the industry. "Oh my God, I smoked pot like 3 times, and I said I told you, it just made me sleepy," he said. "Please stop calling me weedy." Under these tumultuous circumstances, Frank has made some decisions he must certainly regret. Sadly, it is improbable that without the tender care and loving support that a dependable life partner can provide, he will be able to beat this crushing addiction. The culmination of all these emotional elements, a nomadic childhood and split home life, the stress of the professional kitchen and the seductive pull of intoxicants, the paralyzing fear of a relationship that seems too good to be true, is Frank's increasing secrecy. It takes hours of digging through jacket pockets, poring over waste bin contents, and taping together shredded paperwork to begin to answer some of the questions that Frank won't. However, even these expired bus transfers, receipts for sesame bagels, and tickets for matinee showings of The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smog, provide little information about how he spends his time now. More telling are the mementos like the one nestled between his bed's immaculate pillows, a miniature sock monkey. It's a gift, no doubt, from one of the female foodies that troll the city's vibrant restaurant scene looking for fresh meat, probably Vanessa. When asked about the origin of the stuffed toy, Frank's is predictably evasive. "This is fucked up, Jane. You're paying for that window." Here, Frank inevitably stumbles across the rawness of truths. He can't continue like this. Until Wadey wakes up from this dissociative state, this emotional paralysis, we shall all, in one way or another, be paying for that window. Thank you.